on TRT and traveling on airplanes, I'm going to give you the three main things that you need to know so you don't end up having a stroke. Gentlemen, if you're on testosterone replacement therapy like I am, then there's some key things that you need to know. The three top things, particularly if you're a business traveler or maybe you travel on vacation, taking flights that are longer than 2 hours. So here's the key thing. Number one is blood viscosity. So testosterone replacement therapy, when you're taking testosterone, it can increase the number of red blood cells that are within your bloodstream. It's not particularly a bad thing, especially if you're an athlete. You'll actually have more red blood cells that you can then carry oxygen about. But just like cars on the highway, the more blood cells that you have floating around in your system, it can actually cause some traffic. And when that traffic occurs, that's how a blood clot forms. You add that to the higher pressurization when you're at elevation in an airplane, and now you've got a perfect recipe for potentially developing a blood clot. So, watching your hemoglobin hematocrit is absolutely important. I hear very often that folks go to cheap TRT clinics where they're checking labs once or twice a year. Absolutely not. Ideally, you should be having blood work that's done every quarter, so 4 times a year. And one of the main reasons why we do this is that we can actually watch the hemoglobin hematocrit so that if there's a higher concentration of red cells, then you can actually then go donate some blood and bring that back down to a safer range. You definitely don't want to end up with a blood clot just for being on testosterone. Second thing, if you're on TRT and you travel a lot for business or you're going to be on a flight longer than 2 hours, is make sure that you get up and move. So this is so common that on transatlantic flights, if you look, there's going to be a leaflet in the back of the seat that says something about a DVT, deep vein thrombosis. DVTs, they typically occur in larger veins in the legs. They're just thicker, wider veins. And if blood sits there for too long, it can clot together. And then when you start to move again, that clot gets dislodged, goes up the larger veins, and then into that space between the heart and the lung, therefore blocking blood flow. This becomes an emergency. A lot of folks, it can actually even cause death. So you can prevent this by getting up and walking around. This is why I always choose an aisle seat on an airplane. I'll just get up to pee, or just walk around, stretch my legs a little bit. And you need to do that about every 90 minutes to make sure that you're keeping blood flow going. Now, logically, you say, okay, doc, well, hey, I didn't spring for a first class ticket. What am I going to do if I'm wedged in between, like meat in a sandwich in that middle seat? Here's a trick that you can do. Pump your calves. So your calf muscles, you just kind of pump your feet back and forth, squeeze your calf muscles. It's like squeezing, toothpaste out of a tube, that it just keeps the blood at least circulating so that it doesn't sit for too long. The third thing that you need to absolutely do if you're on testosterone and you're traveling in airplanes is hydration. Water is incredibly important just on a daily basis, but when you're at higher altitude, higher pressure, we actually lose water out of our body more quickly, especially via our breath with water vapor. So make sure that you pre-hydrate before a flight and that you hydrate during a flight too. Don't just go based on what the flight attendant's going to give you. You'll get a cup of water this big. That just isn't going to cut it. So either buy some water at the airport, or even better, bring an empty canteen with you so that way it gets through TSA. Fill it up at the airport. Almost every airport has the little water fill stations nowadays, and make sure that you hydrate before, during, and after that flight. If you do all of those things, your risk of DVT and blood clot will go down tremendously, and you can still enjoy being on testosterone therapy. That's what I've got for you guys. Remember, health is wealth. Invest in yourself. I'm Dr. Boyd.